streaming without intending to. We will only stream with great deliberation once you have clicked the yes, I would like to stream button, such as you have right now. Now when we look at your YouTube page, we see that in fact you are streaming. Behold.
Look at that.
Behold the stream.
That's amazing.
What streams may come.
That's it.
It's a terrible illusion to Shakespeare. Have you heard old Willie Shakes?
I have.
He wrote some hot garbage and some good garbage.
He did write some good garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And also a lot of hot garbage. Mm-hmm. And a lot of very, like, performative garbage.
Hey, you know what? When you make art for a living, not all your art is perfect art.
It's 100%
Sometimes you make art to pay the bills. And there can be glimmers of truth in that art, and there can also be glimmers of I need a paycheck in that art.
There can be glimmers of, wow, the royal family really wants me to write it this way in that art.
So this is an unlisted URL, which means that no one can watch until you share this URL with anyone.
So now I have to share it with people.
So now you have to share it with people.
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna do that. Do I do that here?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, how in all the manners in which you want to share your URL, you got to start with. I think you have to start with YouTube so you can get the URL like in your app, because you as the stream owner, you should be able to see your own unlisted stream.
Let's see. Working out, but that's not what I want. So this.
Mm-hmm. Click your icon. Mm-hmm. And your channel.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I expect to see your live video.
Hopefully.
Okay. It's okay.
Yeah. I just don't settle on a means with which. There we go. Okay.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
All right.
And now you share that link hither and thither, and from thence the folks can join. We keep hopping around from service to service trying to find one that fits, so we're back to YouTube for a while. The reason why we shifted from YouTube to Twitch was that Twitch, you had a URL that you could visit. You didn't have to worry. But that openness also invited the trolls. So we're going back to unlisted URLs on YouTube, so that they are exclusive to listeners and viewers and Patreons who are interested. And yeah, and in the meanwhile, I will vamp while Foley set stuff up. Next time, maybe I will have a scene that is an image asset that is like coming soon without any audio, so that we don't have to vamp. But in the interim, I shall vamp. I shall vamp away. Because if there's anything I can do, it's talk.
Well, you are good at talking. Okay,
I give real good talk. I am word hung, so I speak my truth.
I mean, it's very true. You are one of my favorite people to talk to.
I am a very average person in a lot of ways. A very average height, very average weight, very average skin tone. But I am, in the realm of whiteness, I should say, I'm an unremarkable person, but I am remarkably wordy. That is something I've always appreciated about myself. Even in my lowest lows, I can say, well, at least that motherfucker can talk. And talk I do. I burble.
Why would you say mother?
I'm sorry, I shouldn't distract you. You do what you're doing.
Oh, okay.
I can't vamp.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm typing.
You're okay. Stress not. The stream proper shall start in just a few moments. Bailey is preparing to join us for the festivities. Hello, Bailey.
Oh.
A tiny meow. A tiny meow from Bailey. What? Bailey does not like to be held or picked up, but in her old age, she's kind of learned to accept this. This is moderately acceptable treatment to Bailey.
Hi. She's
Hello.
very sweet. She's a very
Hello.
sweet girl.
Are you only going to post to Patreon?
And Twitter.
Okay.
Okay, I'll do the other one.
Mm-hmm. You post wherever you want.
I get panicked and then I forget and then...
Hey, that's why I'm checking in.
Also, I have so much sawdust on my hat.
And we'll talk about why in just a moment.
Okay,
But first,
yeah.
you're going to finish what you're doing.
Thanks.
One gets married for many reasons. Love,
I really
partnership,
hope
cats. Yeah. But a big one is gently nudging you to allow your friends to engage. Isn't that right, Orange? This is really what the people are here for.
Orange shouting and
Come here, you. Cat time. Catting around, it's cat time. Bailey's brown, it's cat time.
Okay.
Orange is mad.
Okay.
Cat time.
Do you know
when
what
Orange is around, then Foley is glad.
I mean, that's very true.
That's the content your audience craves.
She is pretty great though. Do you want to dictate what I draw today, little one?
So let's do an actual introduction now that we're all set up and ready to go.
Sounds great.
Hi everybody. Welcome to the FoleyPDX live stream. Right here, sitting right here. Look who it is. It's FoleyPDX.
It's me.
The one, the only, the true, the blue.
Well, yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I was actually very distracted because I've been building some cabinets for a pal of mine, and so I was out there and I started this morning. I got the groove.
Yeah.
I was doing like everything was lining up.
Yeah.
I have like actual safety tools. I'm always very safe in the shop, but I got like I invested in some actual bona fide safety tools, like push blocks and feather boards and ooh, thank you, darling. And I was using them, and you know what? They're great. They don't make you comfortable, but they relieve a large amount of stress. So I got in like this groove, and I'm like doing a really good job on this second set of cabinets, and it's great. And it's like, and then Annie messaged me. It was like, it's 150.
Yeah. I was in the bathtub. So until like 20 minutes ago, I was in the bathtub enjoying some Epsom salt on my muscles, on my ankle joints.
And I was in the garage getting enormous amounts of sawdust all over me.
I mean, we say you're building, but really you're a sawdust manufacturer.
I'm a sawdust manufacturer.
You're a dust boy.
Yeah.
Good dust boy.
So, yeah. So, come in. Hello. Okay. Come in, draw for a little bit, and yeah, and generally just have kind of a chill time.
I'm excited about our evening though. We're going to go get pizza from a black-owned business here in Portland that makes some of the best pizza in town. It's Detroit style pizza, so it's like a sheet style pizza with the toppings and the cheese, and then the sauce is on top.
Yeah.
It's really good.
The best.
It's pretty wild, pretty delicious.
Yeah.
So wildly tasty, one might say.
Super tasty.
So I'm looking for that. We're going to grab some of that, and we're going to go do a social distance hangout with some acquaintances of ours whom we've never really had an opportunity to hang out with before. And I hate to say it, what took us from we're acquaintances, maybe let's be friends point was the fact that...
Annie's been hardcore scheming on finding friends with a pool.
Okay. You have been pining for a friend.
I mean, I pine for water.
Yes. And right now we're trying really hard to do our part to flatten the curve by, we're not going to parks or anything like that, or like, by which I mean like national parks or any of the bodies of water that we normally go to.
Yeah. I don't want to roll into a small community and be like, cough, cough.
Exactly. I ain't gonna be no vector for a rural community with limited resources.
No.
Everybody is doing their own thing, but this is what we're doing to do our part. We're wearing masks and we're really taking social distancing really seriously, which is why we're gonna go hang out with 2 other people. All of us will wear masks, sitting on opposite sides of a pool. That sounds like a perfect evening.
Just gently floating in an open air environment.
Exactly. That's the plan for the evening, and I'm looking forward to
staying
it.
as far away from people as possible.
Hello, we will say from our megaphones, like hello.
Yeah. Just install a tin can.
Yeah, tin can phone communication system. I like it. Walkie-talkies. Yeah.
Well, walkie-talkies are pretty great.
Yeah.
We'll be texting each other while we lay in the pool.
Yes. Well, I do. One of the things that I struggle with is that I have trouble hearing.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
I really do. When I talk to people, I need to look at their mouths and their faces to get an understanding of what they're saying, and it's like without being able to read a mouth with through a mask, I struggle a little bit.
Yeah.
But you know what? Hey, I'd much rather struggle understanding what people are saying than struggle to breathe.
This is 100%. Yeah, and also, hey Mirabai, how you doing, hon?
Hi, Mirabai.
Yeah, it's not. And apologies, it's not a for not doing on Twitch. There are many great things about Twitch, and one of the not great things about it is trolls. And just people like pushing and being weird in chat and stuff like that, and it's like, yeah, I can ban them. It really messes me up. So I don't know if I should say that.
You're allowed to say that,
but like,
you can be a little vulnerable.
It does a number on my brain and makes me like, I think about it. I like kind of like obsess over it a little too much. So I wanted to try going back to YouTube. I'm not gonna be like, I'm gonna do some sketching. The last time that I did it, like, I was playing music, but like, I don't have to. I don't know. It's just me. It's Annie. It's Orange. You don't like that? Okay.
Hang out and make smarts.
Yeah, gonna try. Oh, they do suck, Mirabai. So, gotta open up some stuff. Yeah. So, I'm building cabinets in the morning, streaming in the afternoons. Hopefully, floating languid in a pool. Is languid a good word for that?
I would call languid a pretty darn good word.
Yeah. It's a word I like. Okay, so I need to just open some stuff up. Hold on 1 second.
Foley, don't check your email.
Annie is.
I'm here to be your stream top.
I mean, that's cool.
Eyes on the prize, buddy.
It's very important.
Oh, are you looking for your sketch suggestions?
I'm just looking for my sketch suggestions. So
that's fair. So yes, Foley will be doing some working on some of the sketch prompts, perhaps provided by the generous folks in the $25 a month tier. Foley's Patreon. Patreon.com/FoleyPDX.
Yeah.
They're able to submit drawing requests that Foley will take into consideration for sketch streams, such as this very stream.
She's standing on you.
She's standing on me, awkwardly on my lap.
Excellent.
She sensed that I was about to get up and go get some water. And she was like, none of that now. No hydration on my watch.
None of that now.
Oh, she's on it.
Yeah, go grab some water. I'm going to look at my sketch prompts and try and figure out which one feels like fun. Hey, Angie, how you doing? Let's see. Have I ever sent prints to South America? The short answer of that is yes. And if you need some stuff shipped down there, if you message me and like let me know where you are. I have had no shipping system is perfect. I've had the most success shipping to South America with DHL. And otherwise have found numerous reasons why, though I love shipping USPS for stuff inside the states, shipping out externally into the world. Yeah, it's not always the best. Yeah, it's I have had issues with a couple of countries, and they've like I've marked them basically as being like, why did this never get delivered? But yeah, we can look and see if you contact me, we can look and see if that's something that I can work out, and then if that's copacetic to you for using DHL or using like a different carrier, definitely an option. Also, thank you for liking and enjoying the things that I put out there. It means a lot. Let's see. Man, I haven't drawn Alex in a long time. Let's see. Also, here's the other part of it. Annie's been the one who's been watching the bulk of Supergirl. Oh my god, Bailey.
Did you know the Bailey's here?
Bailey's here apparently, guys. Annie's been watching. Yeah, Annie closes that because if Annie does not protect our printer, my 8-pound cat will figure out a way to destroy it.
She thinks it should really be a load-bearing printer tray.
Yeah, it's real not.
It is not.
Anyway, yeah. So one of the prompts from good friend, good pal August, is drawing Vigilante Alex and Guardian Kelly. And I'm super like I'm into it, but I have a feeling. Like, I'm like, what is this? And I'm like going, oh, it's because those are the episodes you haven't watched yet,
yeah,
Foley.
Foley has literally, I don't think you've seen a single episode with Kelly in it.
No, that's not true. I totally have. Kelly's adorable. I love her.
Well, I'm not saying you are immune to the wonders of Kelly.
I've seen Azzy, I've seen Kelly Olsen.
We love her.
I enjoy her greatly.
Mm-hmm.
She's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I haven't seen her, like, she's Guardian? Or did she have Jimmy's shield?
Here's my thing, dudes. I have not watched the last 3 or 4 episodes of the most recent season.
So.
She does have his shield.
I saw the shield at some point.
Mostly, I'm thinking, like, in the, we saw in the 100th episode, we definitely saw, like, in one of the multiverses, Kelly all beefed out, but I can't remember, like, to what degree.
Was it the multiverse where everybody?
It was kind of this stupid word. Lena was Metallo.
See, but that's okay. So that happened.
Yeah.
And I saw Metallo Lena, and my brain went blank. That's
fair.
Pretty much.
Evil girl hot. That's valid. Yeah. No shade, my dude.
No. She looks good in jewel tones.
She does.
Okay, so we're gonna.
So does Kelly Olsen, for that matter.
That's very true.
Calls it like I sees it.
EN.
While Foley Googles that, if I may give a plug to a local Portland business.
Which
Foley
one?
and I are, well, hold on, you'll hear the plug, won't you?
Okay, yeah.
Foley and I are coffee drinkers, and here in Portland, Oregon, there's no small amount of coffee options. Everybody has their own preferences. Stumptown Coffee is a brand here in Portland that many people know nationally. But if I may make a humble recommendation, if you yourself are a coffee drinker, let your fingers do the shop and open up your little web browser there to go search for Dead Stock Coffee.
Oh.
Dead Stock, one word, coffee. It's a black-owned business here in Portland, and their 100 coffee is one of the tastiest coffees I've ever had. It's so good. They roast them to order.
Yeah.
They mail all over the country. Mm-hmm. Our mailman has often voiced jealousy whenever he drops off a delivery. He's like, "Gosh, that coffee smells really good." It does.
It does smell really good.
It smells amazing.
I am a little bit more. I like all kinds of coffee.
Yeah.
And I like darker coffees, like darker roasted coffees than Annie tends to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that I haven't had something from them that hasn't been amazing.
Yeah, all their coffee is good.
It's so deeply good. They're also apparently, and this is one of those things where it's like, thank you, Rona. I can't go to their shop. Apparently, they're or I choose not to like put myself in that situation if I can avoid it. But their shop, they're apparently sneakerheads, and so like they love coffee and they love sneakers, and I'm really curious about the decor inside there.
Yeah, they've got a lot of really great merch that's just really awesomely designed, which makes it even better.
It's beautiful, and they're like I said, their coffee is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
don't even. But we have a sticker with.
I have a sticker. It's great.
Shot, which is why I'm not thinking about it while Foley was doing stuff.
And I got distracted.
Yeah, go do it your job. I'm doing my thing.
You're vamping, and I'm looking
vamping.
for. So what I am doing currently is so not exciting. So Annie is vamping. Thank bless Annie. I'm actually like scrolling for some reference because it's been a while since I've stared at the faces of these cuties.
So Foley, what are you looking for exactly when you're looking for reference? Bailey wants to know too.
In this case, I'm actually like trying to look for some stills from to see if there's any stills from the show in specific.
But I mean, what are you looking for when you're looking at stills from the show? Like what qualities are you looking for?
Is it gonna sound really good? I'm looking for something that like kind of feels like it would be fun to draw.
No, that's totally valid. That's what I'm asking. It's like, what is the difference between a drawing you pass on, or excuse me, a image you pass on versus an image that speaks to you?
Something.
That's something. Je ne sais quoi.
Yeah, that's something.
That's something special.
That's something. And I just haven't. Yeah. Oh, it almost could be like they don't give them a lot of screen time.
Yeah. I was gonna say there's a I was about to say Schulzen. That's a different ship. There's a Dancing Supercut that I have downloaded somewhere, but that doesn't help you in this moment.
It doesn't help me in this moment. But I'm looking. I'm looking.
Just your part.
Yeah.
Boy, the distant melancholy cry of the Bailey is really something today. I think she's morose because she's making gremlin noise.
Yeah, it's real good.
Babe.
I bet you whatever that she has her otter in her mouth and she's just wandering through the...
I've got to investigate my child. Hi! Oh my gosh.
Did she run at you?
Yes. I literally turned the corner.
Sounds about right.
And she came galloping my way, and now she galloped back that way. Hi!
James gave her the shield. Okay, yeah, well, James doesn't... The shield, like, apparently he's an editor at a small town newspaper. I don't know how useful the Guardian shield is there, so, yeah. Kelly's got it. Kelly can use it. Okay. Still looking. Cat ran off with my wife. Let's see. Yeah, she looks good with that shield. That's pretty fun. One of the other nice things about searching for reference and stuff like that is you run across other people's quick sketches and fan art in general. And I found one of kind of charming one of Alex wearing some joggers, and I'm like, Alex needs to wear more joggers. I think something that's always been really specific about the Supergirl fandoms, it has been a lot of the fans of it, a lot of the people enjoy it, mostly see potential in it, to do other things, to tell other stories, and like that's always where I've kind of sat, where I'm like, want to know more about these characters, or these characters in relationship to each other, and it's just like storytelling is complicated, and it is challenging to be everything to everybody. But I really, I don't know what's happening here.
Come on, Bailey. Hi. Oh my gosh, Bailey. Hi. Hi.
Oh, thank you.
Hello, Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
So Bailey, I turned the corner. She ran towards me.
Mm-hmm.
She ran away.
She started running around the living room, and
What did she want?
the minute I sat down and made a little bridge for her to access me, she immediately galloped onto my lap, plopped down, and started purring. So what she wants is love.
She wants friendship.
Bailey's just clearly articulating her needs and desires, which is something I admire and respect. We should all be more like Bailey.
Thank you, Mirabai. Our cats are pretty awesome. I love them. They're good. They're good sweeties. Oh.
Hi. Hi.
Okay. Mostly, okay, so a lot of times when I'm looking for reference, one of the things that I'm really looking for is if I'm specifically looking for a particular person, actor, or character, them as a particular character. If I can get it, I'm always trying to look for something that like is giving the right kind of vibe, which I may have already said. And one of the things that's challenging about Alex and Kelly from Supergirl is they're not offered the opportunity to do that vibe very often. And then it's like, has anybody screen capped that particular moment of the show or anything like that? Is it readily available to find? Is it actually an angle that's nice, or was there a different focus? So like, you know, there's a lot going on. I mean, let's be honest, I do not mind looking at Alex Danvers. That is for sure. I do miss tough Alex.
Yeah.
A little bit, but like I don't miss.
We don't miss fascist Alex?
No, and I know not at all, and I don't also miss like constantly drunk Alex. Though
I wish they'd deal with it.
That they would deal.
I mean, I don't trust the show to deal with it, but like both Alex and Lena absolutely cope with their situations with alcohol.
Yeah.
And I wish that's something the show would cope with.
And it's something that's interesting because like the stories that you tell and the things that you make readily visible for people to consume do matter. And though I never went down the road of addiction in that way personally, I did always look at the shows that like the shows my parents would watch when like I was a kid or anything like that. Like I think my folks were like really into like NYPD Blue, and for watching it and seeing how people like had a hard day, so you'd like drink some whiskey and stuff, and that was like really normalized as a means to cope. You know, sorry.
Nothing. There's nothing wrong with having a beer. It's when you have a 6-pack of beer that then it becomes a bad thing. And also, yeah, exactly. You gotta be self-conscious of why you're doing something.
Yeah.
You know. Oh, Bailey.
Sorry, Annie.
You're okay. Because it's like, if you're drinking because you enjoy the taste of alcohol, because you're, celebrating a moment, you're relaxing, that's one thing. If you're drinking because you're tired of thinking and you don't want to think anymore, then maybe there's something to that. Because it's not like doing that, it makes those problems go away.
Yeah. All of the characters on Supergirl desperately need good therapists and to figure out like the type of therapy that would be most helpful to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend today that they were talking about how traumatic high school was for them, and they were like, "Oh, you know, it's awful that kids in high school aren't necessarily given a lot of mental health resources," and she wasn't. And I had to point out that I have been in therapy and medicated since I was 11 or 12 years old, but the therapy I got was not necessarily the therapy I needed.
Mm.
And the therapy I got had no context for any sort of understanding of reality outside the cis heteronormative expectations of the world around us. And without I'm grateful I did it. And if nothing else, I developed a context for therapy and medication that I may not have had otherwise. It was definitely not necessarily the help that I needed at that time in my life. So
yeah,
tricky thing.
I definitely feel like I straight up lucked out.
Mm-hmm.
And got very, very, very lucky to find a therapist that I clicked with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's mostly your fault.
Your first time out, too, which is uncommon.
Yeah.
I had to have about 12 therapists before I had a therapist who was a good match for me. Over the course of my life. I had to have about 12 therapists before I had a therapist who was a good match for me. Over the course of my life. Not all in one go. But like maybe the last 2 or 3 therapists I had were not good matches, did not actually give me the support I needed. In some cases to a comical degree. I think I've talked about this before.
One of them desperately seemed to want to be my therapist.
Oh yeah, because at the time Foley was going through some shit, and that's a lot of what I needed from therapy was a place to go and safely process my feelings on what Foley was going through. And she was so like, tell me more about Foley's suffering. It's like, all right, okay, calm down.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Think I found some.
So
stuff.
Foley's process. Foley has a thought.
Sometimes.
So Foley, 2 brain cells briefly overlap, and Foley experiences a rational thought.
Two brain cells gently go.
Exactly. A bumper car.
When
and you.
My third brain cell is solely dedicated to woodworking.
It's physically right here, but spiritually you're still in the garage.
Spiritually, I am
building
making
cabinets.
all the sawdust.
So now you've found some reference
Found a
photos
couple
to
of
inspire
things.
you. What's up? What's now?
Well, I wanted to talk / show, and I'm gonna open up a thing. Just make sure there's no NDA stuff sitting in here.
Yeah, unfortunately, the hard part about making art for your day job is that a lot of the art you're making for a day job you can't show anybody. And in the case of what Foley's working on, it's going to be to an incredibly specific audience of people.
Yeah.
So Foley won't be able to share anything they're working on with the general public probably for at least 2 years, if not more. So
I think that's what's in the contract, and I'm like, unless I get like express written permission.
Sure.
Like, yeah, and
it's fine. It just means that the art you're making, you're getting a very limited full feedback to your wife, and from the people you're working with.
From the people I'm working with, and whether things are to their liking.
And also the art you're drawing, whenever you're drawing for someone else, is not necessarily the art you want to be drawing.
No, rarely is it. So one of the things that I wanted to kind of go over is the last time I did a sketch drawing, or like last time I came on and was sketching on Twitch, I was doing stuff with like looking at some reference, but I really wanted to I didn't have anything prepared. As you can see, it can take some time to scroll through and find actual physical reference. But I wanted to talk about, and it's something that actually someone else in the Sango talked about it, which is to basically say, like, there are people who will criticize really heavily about using and drawing from photographic reference in the way that I'm going to sort of show you is one of the modes that I have worked with in the past. Let's see. So let's import some stuff. Let's import these two. Apparently, yeah, Kelly's tiny. So I don't really know what I'm gonna do. I found of my looking. I found these two images. I know that I'm pretty positive that this is from season 1, so that's with that soft leather jacket. It's also a very dark image of Alex as far as just like. But one of the things that I can do with that is, it's the lighting on it is real specific and everything like that. But if I drop down the the opacity of it, I can get a better idea of kind of what's going on inside that picture. And this was just kind of a pretty basic picture of Kelly. And I don't know if these are actually going to work well together eventually, but something that is a process that I actually encourage people to do and like doing is, if you do find, I'm rambling, if you do find reference material, reference images that work, there's great, they can be really useful to kind of figure out proportioning, figure out posture, but there's some steps that a lot of people don't go through to basically say that there's a lot happening in this image that if I just trace it, I'm not getting everything from it.
Mm-hmm.
There's also something where photographs and video innately distort things in very specific ways. So one of the things, if you've ever messed around with cameras or anything like that, the focal length of a lens can do different things to bodies and to objects and to buildings and everything like that. And a lot of times those things can be done on purpose. And sometimes, having been a person who worked in the set photography field, a lot of times you're correcting for the fact that that's the lens you have to use. So you're keystoning things, or you're like kind of removing things back to what they look like to your eye. That being said, that means that sometimes if someone were to just take either one of these pictures and trace them aspect for aspect, they would look wrong, because there's
like if you literally just traced Kelly's hand there, that arm, like that might look awkward.
Yeah. And also like the foreshortening that's happening, specifically here, might not look right when drawn out.
Exactly.
So you have to kind of figure out a shorthand of how to express those, how to express that, drawing it. So one of the things that's great about drawing digital, and I'm actually going to make Kelly disappear a little, which is fine. The writers do it. No, I don't. That's mean. Because, and I've got some glare going on. So a lot of times, actually, she's better to talk about this with. So let me do that, because what you're seeing here is, so you have her and you've got her proportion. She has amazing eyes, by the way. But so something that you're thinking about is her structure. Like, we're not even looking at details right now. We're just looking at like facial shape and what we can see. And then you also have to be thinking about like, so you've got the structure of the coat is in there as well. Can be helpful to dictate where certain features are going to be. And something else to think about is, so you can have like a physical reference, actual photograph that you can be working off of, and you can still, it is always super beneficial to exaggerate certain features that are really key to that person. So like I'm drawing I've never drawn Kelly before. I would be very prone to being like her eyebrows are mwah, and her eyes are so important.
Yeah.
And mean so much to like
Yeah.
and are so expressive. So like those are going to be two things that I'm going to like pay really close attention to when um when drawing her, when trying to render her. Let's see.
Angie asks, can you afterwards tell us a little more about what tools you use to do digital work for mortals like me that don't do art? Foley, while you draw a little bit, may I explain?
Yeah.
So our setup here in the office here is Foley has this broad work surface, and just out of shot, a little bit below here, Foley has a drawing tablet. And what a drawing tablet is it's basically like an oversized iPad, if you want to think of it that way. It's a large monitor with a pen that you can use to draw directly on the monitor. Foley's is about maybe a 20 by 12 display.
It's big. I saved up for it.
Yeah, so yeah, we invested in Foley's art in this way. You can get some digital tablets that have no display at all, where you're just drawing, kind of using it like a mouse, and the abstraction between what you're drawing and what you see on the screen is pretty real, and a lot of artists use that with great success.
Yeah.
There are also a lot of artists who draw with great success on just an iPad, with an Apple Pen or similar tablets that are on the market. Cintiq is kind of the big name in the tablet space.
Yeah.
And it's just they tend to make really good drawing tablets. So that's the actual tool that Foley is using. And then they have just like a keyboard back there with some quick keys on it. So, Foley, rather than having to go through menus to select something, like to zoom in or out like they just did, can instead just use those quick keys that they have memorized. There are also buttons on the side of the display that you can program as well. So like erase or something like that.
Yeah.
So the pen has two sides, just like a pencil, and Foley has it programmed so that when Foley flips it over and rubs it with the other side, then they're erasing what they're drawing. And if they have it flipped to the point, then they're drawing. The tablet is pressure sensitive, so if you press down hard,
so sensitive.
And the degree of sensitivity is really intense. That's part of the advantage of the Cintiq. So, and there's also like a little button on the side of the pen that you can use to switch types of, that you can program however you want. So, Foley is using to draw a program called CSP, or Clip Studio Pro. It's what a lot of artists are using these days. If you're looking at paid software, there is a version on iPad as well. And
the version on iPad, just to interject, the version on iPad I think is subscription based.
It is subscription based. Just the desktop version, it usually goes on sale once or twice a year, and you can get it for anywhere from $50 to $70, which is pretty darn good when you compare that to Photoshop, which you can't even buy outright nowadays, and you have to subscribe to something like $20 a month, something like that. Anyway, CSP, what's nice about it is that it started as a manga drawing piece of software, manga being Japanese comics. So its point of view as a piece of software, the perspective that it was developed for, was for drawing, versus Photoshop, which started out at, and still is, a design and photo editing tool, right? So there are lots of artists who make beautiful stuff with Photoshop, and you can do all sorts of brushes with it, and you can do all sorts of advanced things, but CSP is primarily a drawing app. It has all sorts of great tools for drawing and inking comics in particular. Foley's used that to make pretty much all the comics that you've seen online, Foley has done using CSP and its predecessors. So what CSP does really, really well is, there's no other way to say it, it's really fun to draw in. It feels like you're drawing with a pencil and paper. It genuinely does. Like, a lot of times, I don't know if you've ever used, like, if I'm using really blunt, like, you and I, when we use Microsoft Paint or something like that, right? When you draw in it, even with a mouse, like it's fun, but it doesn't really look or feel like a pencil drawing, right? Like the quality of the line doesn't look like real media. What's really fun is that with CSP, like you draw with a pencil in the app, it feels like a pencil. Like the line and the way it flows from your tip, it just feels like a pencil. Much like same thing with its ink functionality. So it's just a really fun tool to draw on. There are only times that I sit down and draw, and I am not the artist in the family because it's just a pleasure to work with. So you can do a lot of fun stuff with it.
Mm-hmm.
So Foley uses a few other tools, but really primarily CSP is the way to go. Because frankly, it's one of those things where once you find something that you are comfortable with, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Going back into using reference here exactly. As I throw this over, this is what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing about if I make this go away and I'll leave this there and I make this go away and I put this back in. Her hands, yep, you can recognize that as a photograph. Her hands are in it. That is something that's happening. And even if you are really slavish to those angles, if you're using reference, one of the things you start to realize is, like, this one's okay. This top one, that's a weird way to be viewing digits. It's very like face on. It's also her wrist is also turned. So there's like a lot of stuff going on there. And that can make it really challenging to extract it basically and I think that that's one of the things when people start off using reference, using pictures that they like and stuff like that and being like, I want to draw that, and starting off by using that as your base, it can be really frustrating when you're like, it doesn't look right.
It may look accurate to the photo, but the photo when rendered in another medium just doesn't look right. And
I was saying here, like she's got layers on as she is she's got the costuming department all on her, which is great. Because that is a full other thing of just like being able to render clothing and the weight of fabric and everything like that, and how it actually fits and falls on the body depending upon like what it's made out of. And these are all things to kind of think about. So if you're trying to like extrapolate, like, okay, well, where is her frame in this, and how do I make it look right, or at least stylistically where I want it to look, because you've got her jacket back here coming off here. That's totally like thickness of fabric and not like the shape of her. So it's just things to consider when you're going at this, and like especially like right here, like, okay, well, where does her, so if her wrist is kind of terminating right here, this line, you're following and trying to follow like where you think her arm is coming in, and connecting up to her elbow, that kind of fun stuff. So I'm gonna mess around in here. So like I was saying, her eyes are feel enormously important, and her eyebrows, actually the next to the shape of the bridge of her nose and like cheekbone structure and everything like that. Her it's very upsetting to draw very pretty ladies.
I know, isn't it difficult?
Super. It is my lot in life, apparently. I think one of the things I started to feel this way in in college I did a lot of drawing, but I did a lot of not in class. I did a lot of all of my notebooks from college are actually just sketchbooks, and so I just had blank paper and would draw during lectures, and sometimes I'd be drawing people in front of me while in between like taking notes or like writing down like ideas or questions or anything like that. But it was this really great way where I would also like sit down at lunch and sketch people walking around, and try to figure out what features I wanted to work on and everything like that. Don't really know the point of why I brought that up, but
You're allowed.
it's so I have some really specific stylistic things that I like to do. Certain, actually, before I get too far into doing her nose, I'm actually going to go ahead and do it on another layer, so I can get rid of this line a lot easier. So, Annie, would you consider the way that I draw features in people comic booky?
Yeah.
Stylized.
Yes.
I'm not somebody who is like slavishly trying to.
You're not going for realism per se. You're looking to reflect the accuracy of the person that they are versus maybe the literal representation of.
And if I can, the character that they play.
Yeah.
But not necessarily, like exactly. And so there are people who would consider using reference like this cheating. And the truth of the matter is, if you got 10 people and sat them down and gave them the exact same thing to do this with, they would all come out different. None of them would come out in a particular, like, wrote in a particular.
I guarantee if I sat down and attempted to draw this beautiful woman from reference, I would not be able to do it to the degree that Foley does.
And I think a lot of that is like knowing what lines to go for, knowing what you're trying to, knowing the shape of what you want to do. Can I say this? God, I really wish they would let Kelly have natural hair.
Yeah. Hopefully they let Batwoman have natural hair.
Please.
Let her have curly hair. And my watch is an hour off.
Yeah?
Trying to become a watch gay, y'all.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. I love the sound of a watch. Like, this is not a terribly fancy watch, so it's got a really loud mechanism, and I kind of love that, actually. It's my Timex.
I think that one used to be mine for a period of time.
So it's got a really loud mechanism, and I kind of love that, actually. It's my Timex.
I think that one used to be mine for a period of time,
Yeah.
I think. And I fell asleep a couple times with it on, and it definitely, after a certain point, it helped me get to sleep, and then it woke me up.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that there is something about repetitive sound. I've done some reading into this because we have a white noise machine that we have in our bedroom. We also have one in our guest bedroom because we live, as y'all may or may not be able to hear, near a pretty major street. It has some traffic sounds. We wanted to have some white noise. And when I was doing research, the thing that I found that was really interesting is that white noise is not like turning on like a song on a loop, right? That's not really white noise, because what happens in sleeping state can catch on the patterns, and that pattern of sound will wake you up.
Interesting.
So like a real good like white noise machine or white noise recording or anything like that is more random and therefore organic, because that sort of organic sound you don't notice in the way that you a fake sound, repeating sound is unnatural, and that unnaturalness will wake your brain up. What today I learned.
I don't know where this is going. I'll be honest.
What, you're drawing?
Yeah.
You're allowed to just draw. Because Foley has been doing so much art for work, it means that Foley doesn't always draw for pleasure or for fun, and that's been one of the things that I've been most excited about as folks have offered sketch suggestions, is that I hope that you'll get back into just sketching for joy and for, you know, for an audience versus just sketch suggestions, is that I hope that you'll get back into just sketching for joy and for, you know, for an audience versus just, you know, for the person who's gonna write you a check.
Yeah.
Because like really, like art at its best feeds the artist, right? Like it's something that you're making, something that when you're done with it, you get something from having made it, right?
I mean,
Like
I feel like that's always the hope.
Yeah. And like it should feed your heart somehow, and that's why. And it's not necessarily about technical skill or making good art, it's just about like the joy of art.
I like the people coming in and being like, that's not cheating as far as like using graph. Bless y'all. It's not. It is literally a tool. And you can definitely I think something to be aware of is like any tool, you can start to use that tool as a crutch, in a way, where you rely on it a little too heavily or something like that. They like your shirt. It's because Annie's shirt is dope.
Thanks. I got this for our Lexicon trip that we normally take to Vegas, but you did not this year. So this is my summer shirt.
Yeah, it's a very nice summer shirt.
I like it. This is I got it from a clearance shop, and I try really historically. I try not to dress from the men's department, because I have enormous yabos, and I like my enormous yabos, and I like clothes that acknowledge that I have enormous yabos.
They're a feature, not a flaw.
Exactly. So I know lots of people have very different relationships with their bodies.
Yep.
Especially lots of folks who like to engage with female masculinity, or I should say if you prefer non-cis male masculinity, have lots of different relationships with their bodies, and I'm not judging anybody on their journey, but for me personally, I like the feminine features of my body. I like my hips, I like my ass, I like my tits, and those things to me are not incompatible with the masculinity that I hold. And so when I was like fucking around with my presentation, one of the rules I kind of had for myself was I don't want to wear clothes that don't allow for the fact that I have banging yabos, and so I don't usually
just you calling them yabos.
That's
and
what
like,
I call them.
Right. But it's literally, isn't that from?
It's from
Hocus Pocus. Which,
yeah. That's where I learned the word yabos. I'm sure it's not from Hocus Pocus, but that is what popularized it to me. Wild Fang is pretty good. Wild Fang, in the chat, Angela points out, Wild Fang and Dapper Boy are great brands. Wild Fang almost doesn't believe in my body type. I can wear some Wild Fang clothes. Wild Fang is based out of Portland here, and so I'm fortunate enough to be able to go to their showrooms and try on some of their stuff. I am almost in too big a body for Wild Fang, is the one thing against them. But I have a few pieces of Wild Fang clothing that I love, that I just barely managed to fit in, that have a more generous cut. Dapper Boy, I really like Dapper Boy. They have a pretty great extended sizes program, and their swimwear is so good. Like Foley has never had swimwear that they felt comfortable in. But the Dapper Boy swimwear is the most gender-affirming swimwear that Foley's ever had.
This is 100% true.
So
I really like this hand, but it needs to go away now.
I was actually just looking at Boy this morning, because I was thinking about trying to get some of their chinos or something like that. Um, uh, there's a lot of interesting androgynous or masculine of center brands out there. The only downside is I think it's really important that we're making clothes for our own communities, but there's like a certain privilege to it because there's a price point to all of it.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's really hard to manufacture clothing. It is. The minimums are very high, so like you have to order like 300 units of something, and and when you order, like, that's their minimum order quantity, MOQ, and at that MOQ you're not necessarily getting a savings,
Guys,
right?
look at all the things you're learning.
So like when Target buys a shirt, they're buying 300,000 units, right? So their cost per unit goes down insanely. So what that means is that you get a shirt from Target that's $8, and then you go to a smaller brand like Hot Butch or Dapper Boy, and like they're doing their best, but you get a shirt there for like $25-$35.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have brands that also try to integrate ethical sourcing. Not to say that those brands don't, but like Kieran Finch and Lockwood 51 are two brands that have gone out of their way in some of their lines to have like more eco-friendly stuff and trying to be more sustainable, but then your costs go up even more. So you're looking at like Kieran Finch has some beautiful shirts, but there's a part of me where I'm like, man, am I able to spend $120 on a button-up shirt? And 9 times in 10 I'm not. It bums me out. But having said that, love Dapper Boy. Wild Pink's pretty good. Hot Butch, I just started following them. It's a very particular aesthetic, but it's really charming. And again, a black-owned business. Let's see what else. Kieran Finch. Pew de Loop. I'm probably saying that totally wrong. Pew de Loop is a Canadian brand that does a lot of dress shirts. Lockwood 51 is like an LA, very, very California looking brand. They have a shirt that's like, I keep almost adding it to cart. It is like this button-up shirt that's all like gay spank mags from like the 70s all over it, and I'm obsessed with it.
Come for the drawing. Stay for Annie talking about a shirt that has spank mags on it.
I really like taking masculinity away from men and masculine design away from men. Anyway, they're great. A Werewolf is another brand that does a lot of fun, just shirts and that's aware, like as in, I am aware of the problem. A Werewolf. They do a lot of really cool designs.
Can you take over for a second? I need to.
You need a little bio break?
I need a little bio break.
Yeah. So
don't mess up Kelly.
I won't mess up Kelly. But yeah, if I'm missing any obviously MOC oriented brands, hit me up. I'm always trying to, bare minimum, I try to look at them on Instagram, and like, because it's really nice to have businesses that cater to that demographic, because that means like those are the kind of bodies I'm going to see in my feed. So like I really enjoy being subscribed to Dapper Boy and Rodeo and brands like that on Instagram and stuff, just because I tend to see bodies that are more and different than what I'm used to seeing. I used to buy clothing from a company called Lucky Brand. They do a lot of jeans. They're very SoCal feeling. And I would, like, whenever there's a big sale, I'd be like, oh, time to get some stuff. But they used to do plus sizes for women. And so for those of us with bigger bodies, we had options. And what I really loved about it, if nothing else, was that meant I got to see models whose body types were closer to mine. Because one thing I struggle with is that, like, you can have extended sizes or something, but unless I see a body type that's like mine, if I can't try on a piece of clothing, this photo is the closest I have to guessing, like, what I'm going to look like in these clothes. So it's like, I have enormous tits. I've got a significant gut. Like, how am I going to look in this piece of clothing, my friend? And Lucky just recently killed their plus size clothing in favor of doing extended sizes, which sounds great, but the end result is now all I have is skinny models to look at all day. And I'm like, no. Also, frankly, looking at those plus size models really pleased me on a gay level. So there was that. I'm gonna miss that forever. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I really appreciate these brands where the visual point of view is going to give people who look like me and the people I love an opportunity for the stage. That's why I started following a lot of um, some like I don't know. I just like putting faces and bodies on my Instagram feed that I don't normally get to see. So I'm always looking for like
We don't know.
Foley's mystery hands to be figured out later.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't give yourself an easy situation there, Foley.
Well, I'll see if I can do something else. I'm actually gonna move on to this.
So you just give her Guardian's shield.
I mean, that's the hope and the plan. There are some other.
The body language isn't very. I have a shield out. Though.
I'm aware. No, I know. But that actually is here because Annie brought that up, and it is true. We're gonna get rid of our little thing there, and we're going to collapse. Bear with me. Oh, this is the hand I took away. That sounds dark.
This is Cleoson's hand.
Okay, there. Now she's all in one layer, and that's wonderful. So, Annie, you bring up a good point. I'll say it that way. That the posture is. There aren't a lot of reference pictures of Kelly looking tough. There's a lot of reference pictures of Kelly looking like, oh.
That's kind of what she used to be for that team.
Being a therapist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna see if we can achieve that look. Okay. So we're gonna put this on a different layer just in case we mess it up. This is one of the things. Digital art is super forgiving in many, many, many respects. This is one of them. I still think the feeling of it is a little off, but some head rotation works a little bit. So there's probably some shoulder business that's also not quite right. But I think we're gonna go with it because it's ultimately the whole point of these is draw something, sketch something, try not to obsess too much about it. Don't be too hard on. I'm talking to myself basically. Don't be too hard on me.
Gotta hold yourself gently.
Wasn't perfect. I wouldn't A, post it, and B, I would get really mad at myself about.
It's really easy to have perfectionist instincts with art, and it is impossible to achieve. No one is perfect.
Setting myself up to fail.
I mean, I felt very similarly with writing for the longest time. Like, I felt my art was subpar, so I was like, well, then why bother? You're missing a critical word there, Foley. Can you guess what it is? Supergirl. There you go.
I was gonna write superb girl.
Superb girl! Exceptional lass!
Yeah. Oh, this is something. Okay. Alright.
It looks very bug-like.
It does. I get that it has to grow out of itself,
I get that it's supposed
basically.
to look like ka-chunk, ka-chunk, like a segmented carapace sort of situation.
Yeah. But it is also something that... Let's take a look at it. That's a big boy.
That's a big beef and cheddar.
Yeah. So we're gonna... I don't know. We're gonna try something. You can keep talking.
I can't remember what I was talking about.
Being old. I'm old.
You're not old, dude. You haven't even started to get old yet.
I haven't?
No. Buddy, hate to break it to you, you haven't technically hit middle age yet, bud.
I don't know. For like a peasant, I have.
You ain't a peasant. I'm sorry, dude.
Why does my...
you.
I was gonna say something.
Capitalism may treat you like you are, but you ain't.
Okay.
You ain't. Anyway. All my cats have abandoned me.
They're mean.
Let me tell you what it's like to sit here and look at Foley's desk. Here's a snapshot. We have post-it notes with drawings for dimensional lumber. We have business cards for upholstery supply. We have books on
These are normal things.
lost civilizations. We have a handmade ceramic
That was a gift.
coaster of Lena Luthor in her premiere. Yeah, it's many fascinating artifacts. Foley's desk is much tidier than mine, I have to say. But I like the things you have on here. Foley.
Thanks, pal.
Some good stuff. Some good business.
Do you know what's really great?
What?
Mirroring tools.
Yeah.
When you have to draw symmetrical items.
You want to explain a little bit to the stream what a mirroring tool is?
A mirroring tool is basically what I just did. What I just did here. So here we'll get rid of it because I think I actually need to move it in a little. So a mirroring tool is this little bit of business, which is so funny they like represent it with. So I have it set to symmetrical, which you can just barely see right there, to a symmetrical ruler. There are actually, if I grab, no, I don't want to do that. There's a bunch of different types of rulers. Linear ones, curve rulers, I haven't really played with that one. A perspective ruler, which I know is for creating like multi-point perspective, which can be really useful for doing like buildings and such and doing interiors. But what I mostly come to this party for is a really great thing of like, okay, where do I want the center of this symmetrical object that I need to draw? Where do I want that to be? And it also tells me like where it was before.
Nice.
So it'll give me a point of reference to that if I need to go back to it. And basically what it allows is I only have to do one side of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's
so when you say a mirror tool, it automatically renders the symmetrical opposite side of whatever you're drawing.
Yes. Which makes, drawing things like shields, drawing things like anything that's got a particular pattern to it. Just trying to look at what's a bit of business that's happened. Let's see. So I like it because it takes a lot of the fear out of doing stuff like this.
And if I may point out a few things that Foley has done here to make this drawing just kind of land a little more, is that it's really tempting to just not draw what's behind whatever you're rendering, and what that means is that you're not necessarily grounding it in reality of what's behind there. Like it's helpful even just a little bit to say, okay, where is the placement of the arm and how will that inform the placement of the shield? Another thing that Foley is mindful of here, and that I always drive them crazy with, is tangent lines. A tangent is when you have two lines that intersect, and it's very visually confusing. Kind of like if, like a tangent line is like if I have this line here, and I have this line at the top of this document here, it's more visually interesting to do like this, right? Where those lines are not on the same plane. If I do it like this on the same plane, like it visually doesn't look as good because it looks like you've accidentally made one contiguous line from here all the way across here. It's a really easy mistake to make an illustration, and it adds just a little bit of visual confusion. You'll see you can see bad tangents in like a lot of times in comics when like a character has a hat, maybe they have a broad rimmed hat, and then they're walking past a window or something, and like the line of drawing the bottom of the window pane perfectly overlaps with the brim of the hat. Like it's helpful to just prevent visual confusion by offsetting those elements so that they don't visually overlap. So like Foley gave a little bit of space between the plane of Kelly's chest chest and the shield,
Mhm.
because if Foley had made it so that the line of the torso lined up with the line of the shield, it could be a little visually confusing. So it's
Yeah.
like the kind
We're
of
still like you're still running into something where like in this case what we've got like there's
Yeah,
still
you've
like a
got a-
little bit of it there's
Yeah.
there's a tangent right here.
Yeah.
I
It's not-
can
it
I can mess with that.
it would be like as bad a tangent if like this wouldn't be possible for how she's posed, but if the line of her leg followed the line of the shield. But Foley's absolutely correct that the point of the shield overlaps with the line of
Yeah.
Kelly's leg. Ain't great.
No, it's not. But one other facet here is like now it's on its own collection of and I also filled it so
Mhm.
that it's not going to be as distracting to
Mhm.
me.
Filled it meaning now it's opaque, so you can't see the drawing behind it anymore.
Yeah, and even just moving and correct me, like even just moving it off to right about
Yep.
there, still works out a little better. And so now you're like the assumption is this arm is which would be her right arm, is the one that's going to be like locked in. So now we have to like if we continue working on Kelly, we got to figure out what to do with that other hand. Just put it cupping Alex's face. So, things to figure out. Hopefully on their correct layer.
Little mysteries for Foley to solve. I literally had Hot Butch open in my browser.
Did you? What to?
Pardon me, I'm starting to think about the pizza we're going to order in
Oh.
about an hour. I've gone to a pizza place.
Let's see. Kind of two ways. Still haven't figured it out, adding little lines.
If you want to know more about things like tangents to be mindful of in illustration and graphic design, a really great book that explains this really simply is there's a book by a gentleman named Scott McCloud, a total sweetheart, called Understanding Comics, which is just a really cool book. It's been out for a long time, so you can probably find a paperback copy for cheap. What it is an overview of the history and theory of comics. And it's a really fascinating read, even if you don't read comics, because it just very accessibly and succinctly sums up a lot of really interesting concepts that you may never have thought of before. For example, he talks about the theory that when you think about it, it's like obvious, but maybe you hadn't thought of things like beyond things like tangents that you need to be mindful of, or like the historical predecessors for comics all the way back to Egyptian and even Mayan history.
Sure, yeah.
He also talks about things like I can't remember what the theory is called, but in when you have a very simple design of a character, sometimes it's more identifiable to a person, by which I mean they can personally identify with a character. Like if you think of the example he gives is the simplicity of a smiley face. A smiley face lacks so much detail. It could be anyone, and that is why it's so accessible. It's because there's a lack of detail. And he talks about how a lot of time in cartooning, like it's not so much about the detail, it's about all the detail you don't include to make it less specific and therefore more universal. There's just it's a really cool book with a lot of really neat concepts. It's been a minute since I've read it, but I read it for the first time when I was 16 years old, and it, really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And it's just I really like accessible and approachable art crit and theory, and it certainly is an excellent example of that. Plus, if you just think of comics as a kind of trashy medium, it'll open your eyes to all the things that comics are, and in a way that I find really interesting and compelling. So, Scott McCloud, Understand Comics. He has a few other works that followed it up, like he has a book called Making Comics and Reinventing Comics.
Mm-hmm.
That are interesting, but they're more theoretical and probably a little moment in time. Scott McCloud was an interesting dude. He had he was pretty big in the webcomics scene in the late 90s, early aughts, and he had all these crazy ideas, like one called micropayments. He was like, in the future, you know, a person won't sell 100 copies of something for $25. They'll sell 1,000 copies of something for 25 cents. And he had this whole idea of microtransactions, that like an artist you'd like, you just tip them a quarter or something like that, versus, you know, buying their work or something like that. He was basically calling for future of Patreon and PayPal donations and that sort of thing. So I like that.
It's a good start.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, guess what? I haven't done the entire time I've been doing this.
Save.
What?
Yeah, when you're writing or drawing or making anything, a vigilant saving strategy is always a good idea. You never know when your computer is going to say, enough of that, call it.
Anyway, okay, well, that was cool. Yeah. All right.
Element of excitement to your day.
Gotta love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nothing makes the old sphincter snap shut like seeing that
Just
little asterisk.
looking up at the asterisk and seeing it still says illustration.
Yeah.
It's like.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay.
I like that.
We'll move. We'll do. I like this picture of Alex a lot, just because she looks so cranky in it. But let's see if I can find.
Can I say one thing that I like about the idea of Kelly as Guardian more so than I like the idea of James as Guardian? James as Guardian always felt like a little misguided. The whole point of James was genuinely his perspective as a journalist and photojournalist and a black man in those fields, and like they, you know, the show did damn Makad Brooks dirty for sure, in many ways, but I think it's really important that his primary tool is defensive, like it's a shield, it's a means of protection, and there's an interesting contrast in the fact that Alex is, you know, much more of a blunt force weapon, and
Alex Hart gun.
Yeah, Alex Hart gun, which she should maybe do a little therapy about, but you know, whatever. Fucking Kyler. God.
Wow.
Yeah, I still haven't seen the last few episodes of the show. Alex is a suit now, I guess. This is like the third season in a row watching Supergirl that I haven't watched the last few episodes of the show. Where it just kind of ran out of steam, so to speak.
It happens.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on in the world. Yep.
Anyway. It's funny, in this moment I'm like, it's okay, Annie, you can talk. And I'm like, because I'm back to looking at pictures.
Trying to find that reference that's going to set your brain on fire.
Let's
Here,
see.
I'm going to look at my Alex Sanders tag.
Oh, please do, yeah. Different colors for the layers. In a sketch, yeah, it can be really helpful. Also, just to think the question, please let me know if I'm not interpreting it correctly, is do you usually use the same different colors for the layers? If we're talking about like between the layout pencils specifically, so like the blue and the red, the short answer for that is yeah, I really like trying to keep certain things separate, and make it helps my brain stop and think about what layer I'm drawing something on. It doesn't always work. but sometimes sometimes it is red for the body and blue for objects, but sometimes it's also red for one character and blue for another character in order to like again make sure I'm drawing on the right layer and sort of make me stop and think about what I'm doing so that stuff ends up on the right layers. Because then it's a lot easier to grab stuff and move things around and make changes and do all that kind of fun stuff. So, fun stuff.
How sad is it that Alex Danvers Daily on Tumblr hasn't updated since June?
It's a bummer.
Oh wait, no, excuse me. That was their pins post. Excuse me, Alex Danvers Daily. Didn't mean to do you dirty. You're doing your best. I do not run a daily content blog for a reason. Though I do queue, my fan blur does have a daily queue.
Yeah. Does that sound ominous to call it Kelly body? It does kind of. So the gig that I've been doing has me doing a lot of I can say this. It has me doing a lot of pieced segmented drawings for really basic animation using a program called Spline, which is a neat little program that I guess is used really frequently on for like video game stuff, especially when like you don't maybe have an animator on staff or something like that. And Spline has like a way that it wants files to be set up, and has a way that it wants files to be set up, and then if you import them in that correct format, which is basically just saying it's separating a lot of stuff into layers and folders and making sure that like there's not like collision bits. Spline will actually fill in the gaps. You're basically doing you're making a puppet, and then it's animating that puppet into a basic walk cycle, and like you're identifying where the knees are, and it's like so it's neat. But yeah, at this point I'm very used to like looking at it and going like, okay, well the shield has to be its own item, and like she's got to be set, and I'm like, no, this doesn't actually have to be made so it can be animated. I do not need to think about that. But it does help me get a lot more organized with how something is laid out. So, all right. Well, drink some water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, which Alex are you gonna draw?
Oh, I still don't know yet. You were looking.
I did. I sent you a pic of
Oh, you did?
on Tumblr.
Okay.
Didn't really find anything good. I don't. Mostly what I have on my Tumblr though is GIFs more so than
which I can extract stuff from. I
Yeah.
do know how. It's just not the best. Oh.
Yeah, it's mostly the energy of it, if not necessarily the literal pose of it.
Wow.
Uh-huh. Yep.
God.
Uh-huh. Yep.
She's a really pretty lady.
She's a very pretty lady. She touched me once and I made it sound like Goofy going, Here, I have evidence. Hold on.
Oh, God. Oh.
Here I am at Klexicon. Boop. With my dear friend Kyler gently touching me.
Yeah.
I went soul yuck.
Oh, now you want to see the reference photo? You will see it in a second. Hold on a minute.
Girl pretty.
Girl pretty.
What can I say but girl pretty?
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. All right. So one thing that I need to do, and I have like, I intermittently take time to do this, which is I need to go through my library of reference stuff and potentially name them so that they're not just Tumblr _ EEF0D5BB like string of numbers, because I don't often take time to do that. It's a tedious task. Okay. Oh, we'll figure something out with this.
Yeah. Like I said, if nothing else, let's go to Alex's hair.
Yeah, it's definitely recent hair.
Mm-hmm.
Better here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I want her facing.
Okay. All right. Let me.
Kelly. Can you remember? I don't know if I can remember.
There we go.
Like mirrored. I mean, and I may be wrong.
Mirrored may not. We'll see.
You can disagree with me.
Yeah, we'll see.
You're the artiste.
So I had moved stuff over thinking this, and then yes, and then Annie sent me this. And we're gonna. So you're talking? Are you?
I kind of want them like consulting because like Kelly is like
Sure. I don't know that I want to do too much narrative into it at the mo. Personally, but yeah, we'll figure it out. Sorry, this picture is really distracting.
It's very distracting. You're correct, Angie. Alex does look good there. Dear Lord, man, I miss that pompadour. I know it happened for a minute, but Kyler,
it happened for a minute during grow out.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, yeah. I liked the.
She did it for us, her people.
Yeah, I like the really short hair.
Angela says, "Pretty girl equals vocabulary out the window."
I am
correct.
Done. I don't. Foley, how are you doing? What?
Pretty.
This is squared off shoulders, and so I'm actually going to make certain things a little less distracting. And we'll see. Yeah, we'll mess around with this. Thank you, everybody, for being patient.
You gotta take the time you do to do what you gotta do.
She is enormously washed out, so we'll see like how this ends up being for features and such. Okay, so again, we'll start off by getting some structure, figuring out where stuff is, what these lines and angles are. Are we gonna do supreme pizza?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are we gonna do 2 of them?
Okay.
Leftovers. Just drop one off at the house.
Peace out.
No, just drop one off at our house before
house.
we leave, and then like yeah. All right. I actually think that this what I'm doing might work cropped, specifically, kind of like this, Annie.
Mm-hmm.
Like
yeah.
Like
yeah.
actually taking some of the information out, which is always really funny. Like you can be working on something, and again, this is like a benefit and a curse to working digitally is you can be working on something and it can be big and it can be expansive, and then you're like, ooh, this is so cool, and then somebody comes in, maybe it's your wife, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's something like that, but they see like the zoomed in thing that you're working on, they're like, oh, that's really great, and you back it up and they're like, I like it cropped.
Yeah.
You're like figuring out this moment where you're like, I spent all
Doesn't
this
be like
time
that.
on something, and like the crop is like graphically the most interesting part of it. But again, speaking from someone who has some amount of background in like photography, doing an entire piece and then realizing that the crop is what, like a certain crop is what's important and what looks good, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like you're giving yourself a lot of room to like make it a lot of different images, basically. That's good. So.
Yeah, because it's like there's just because a complete sketch doesn't wind up exactly the way you want it to doesn't mean that there's nothing worth salvaging there. It's I was talking to a friend recently who's taken on writing for the first time. I should say fiction. She's written a lot of nonfiction in her life. She's a voracious reader. She's never written fiction before. So she was working on something and she reached out and she was like, sucks. I'm going to throw this all out the window. And I told her, here's the thing. Take it, dump it in a Word doc, and move on. Just like take it out of the way. Don't think about it, but don't delete it, because with fresh eyes, something from it that you can extract, or like some element that you still enjoy, or frankly, like, you know, days or weeks later, you may go back to it, like it, and be able to reconstitute it in some new way. And it's like, there's always, the thing about art is that art is never wasted, in my opinion. Sometimes you can, if nothing else, you've learned something from the process, or you know, you've pushed yourself in a new direction, or even if you just realized that what you were doing wasn't working, you can figure out, well, why didn't it work? What wasn't feeling right? There's always, I don't know, there's always something to be learned if you approach it correctly. God, there's always, I don't know, there's always something to be learned if you approach it correctly. God, Kyler is a really nice looking person. I'll never forget when we went to Klexicon the year she was there. Foley and I never get to go to any panels because we're working. Foley does an artist alley table there, and I did not get to go to Kyler's panel. And I literally was walking by to go get water. And I happened to be walking by, and I could hear from outside the room that she was giving the panel in. I could hear her voice. And someone had just asked her, if you could be any other character in the DC TV universe, who would you be? And she said Lena Luthor, and then gave this passioned defense of Lena Luthor as a character. And I was like, and it was like, Kyler, are you talking to me? Me, also a member of the Lena Luthor Stan Squad. It was a very enjoyable moment. Felt very blessed, very #blessed in that moment in time.
Well, I've seen the two of them.
They got energy,
give
bud.
interviews together, and they're
Look. Kyler is one of our people. Okay,
and is therefore
Cashy McGraw
and is
the
therefore
Temptress of our
and
people.
is therefore susceptible to.
Yep.
I gotcha. How's everybody doing? I can see what I was saying about because an image is very blown out. There's a lot of markers that are missing, and so you're just kind of having to figure that out. I'm going to pull up separate ref. Annie left, so the talker left. Sorry, guys. And YouTube is like, unless I'm making my own music, which I am not, YouTube isn't super happy about me playing anything, so. But it is, I will say, it's been nice to chill out and spend some time with folks, and I hope you guys are dropping in and dropping out at your leisure, and like I don't know. It's not bad. Not necessarily. Sometimes you start drawing and you're like, okay, there's a little bit too much attention paid to like the line weight of this ear. The cats have grown accustomed to the fact that we're in here and not providing warm laps for them, so they are uninterested in what's going on at this point. So. So again, like doing like sketch stuff and not, you know, if I like this, I may, like August, thank you for suggesting it. It's, if I can get an outcome that I like, maybe I'll do a to this one. It's been a long time since I've drawn Alex. And I don't think I've ever drawn Kelly. God, what is a date night like for these two? And when will Kelly get Alex away from working at a terrible, shady government organization? we live very close to a fire department. So, hence the. Okay. All right. Well, it's right about 4. So I do think I'm going to call it so I can go and get ready for some other things. But we're yeah.
Oh yeah, you got some dancing going.
Started,
Yep.
which is again what I was hoping for, and yeah, I hope you guys had a little chill sketch Sunday. Again, this is if there's anything you wanna see me draw, there's a tier on my Patreon for that. There's also a tier on there that is for a custom commission at below my my normal asking price. And since the way Patreon works, it is like it's a monthly thing, but if there's something that you know that you want me to draw for you personally, that is definitely an option, and it is one of the least expensive ways to get me to get me commissioned. And it's something that you don't have to continue doing, but if you wanted me to draw you something every month, that's up to you. But yeah, that's sitting in there as well, and I really appreciate and I'm grateful for folks' support. And
yeah, from between honestly, every single Patreon is so important and just awesome. It makes Foley feel validated in their art and in the stories they want to tell and the kind of characters they want to depict. So, and even just honestly, just y'all for joining us on the stream and hanging out with us. Just really, really appreciated and validating.
Yeah.
Because we exist and you exist, we all exist together. So, we're all just figuring it out one day at a time, my friends.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, for folks who are on Patreon, I will probably do a little bit more on this, maybe post pool, and then we'll post it up to you guys first, and then it'll go on Tumblr at some point. Ooh, that got blurry. It'll go on Tumblr at some point after that. But I try to do stuff exclusively for for Patreon when I can.
Mhm.
The other cool thing about doing this on YouTube is anyone who missed it, they'll be able to see it here. It'll be cataloged here as opposed to disappearing after 14 days. So much love to y'all.
We'll see y'all next week.
We'll see you
Same
next
time.
week.
Location TBD. Maybe YouTube again. Who knows?
Maybe
This worked out okay.
Yeah. And I will statistically still be covered in sawdust. So
Can't rule it out. Really.
can't rule it out. Could
Those
wash the hat
mistakes.
though. It's possible.
Could.
I could.
It's possible the hat could be washed.
My goddaughter tells me my hat's gross, so
I mean, she ain't wrong.
she's not.
Mm-mm.
She's so smart. Okay, all right. Love you guys.